Welcome to the Real CP Show. I am your host, CP. In today's topic, this vile monstrosity, animosity-filled sun dragon's toenail. Ashley Gonzalez. This KKK hatred-filled Hispanic woman, this one officer, that she showed her hatred as like her and others that feel the same way toward Black Americans overall, with her N-word filled racial racism rant. And she was also a former Marine. What, man, what? What? When I saw this particular story, let me sit there and show you how I was looking at this story. Give me one moment. Let me sit there and show you how I was looking at this particular story. Let me see if I can find it. Give me one moment. Give me a second. I thought I had it. Give me one moment here. Let me see if I can find this. Give me one moment. Where did I put that picture at? About right here. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Excuse me. Give me one moment. Go back and look at the image. Go back and look at this image. This is how I was sitting there and looking at this. God dang it. It's like, why doesn't, oh, I'm sorry. I know what I did wrong. Give me one moment. This is how I was looking. Right? I'm like, is this supposed to be surprising on this situation? That this particular vile mouth wish she was a KKK member, right? For the 21st century. She just happened to be within Hispanicism, but she still filled with KKK minded hatred or anti-American Black pain that she wants to inflict Black American pain, should I say. Right? This is how I was looking at this. And I'm sitting there like, yes, there is understandable that there was numbers of Black Americans that were pissed off about with this particular Hispanic woman, and most likely she is a Mexicano, because that is the largest group within Hispanicism in America, most likely. And I'm like, this is no surprise for the people who know how racially hate-filled numbers of these Hispanics are, especially within certain types of Mexicanos. I'm talking to ones applies to. I don't get it confused. It's across the board and some other type of Hispanicism. So I don't get it confused. Right? There are people who tell you, don't you ever think about marrying or getting with a Black man, a Black American man. Hell, cross the border. Look at the way Afro-Mexicans are treated across the border in Mexico. They're not treated good in the overall way. Whole different topic. But before I go into what I'm going to, because it's very simple to show that particular video, because none of the people have seen that video. But at the same time, I want to add some extra context to it, right, on this. Let's go ahead and share my screen. Actually, let me sit there and show this first. Look at this video right here. In one moment. Look at this video. Look at this image right here. What does this say? I know Negroes aren't getting their fair share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, And I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get. Talking about these white Hispanic Mexicanos. I don't recall what this particular white, hateful, anti-American, black, Hispanic Mexicano, a white Hispanic, wannabe Anglo Hispanic Mexicano. But it's simply just type that in there, a few of those words that should bring up who is the person there who relayed this over. But this is a Mexican American who also wanted to be Anglo white themselves. And you see how the hatred for Black Americans, this kind of stuff was going on in the 50s, people. That's less than 100 years ago, because they fought numbers of Mexicanos within Hispanicism, because that would still be the largest group. Even though in the 50s and 60s, they would have been small, but they still was fighting to be classified, to be labeled as white. So when you have certain numbers of Black Americans, and it's not even, it's talking about black and brown coalition. Right on that. And then Ashley Gonzalez using that N-word 1,000 times. You have some numbers of Black Americans once applies to. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's hateful. And I'm like, when did numbers within Hispanicism as a collective stop having anti-Black American hatred? They never have. They never have, because they also have animosity toward American Blacks too, because American Blacks had to flee to those southern borders or some other borders, or they didn't flee. You'd be like, how you gonna flee from people that look like you? Right? Now there's some variables to that, but we're talking about collectively. And so you got those of people who are jealous of American Blacks, but at the same time they ride the coattails of what American Blacks have accomplished so much in building the foundation of America. They sit back and watch American Black folks fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. Civil rights bills, etc. Going to the service, showing patriotism, saying, "Hey, man, treat us like humans." Right? That had to sit there and go get a HBCU because you had numbers of person that was in prominent culture that did not want Black folks to go in the same college as them, even though still beyond smarter than quite a number of other within certain types of Angloism, but numbers of them were jealous. Hateful feel. For what? It was like what American Blacks did overall Anglos? Nothing. Do you understand, people? But you got people that flee from different places and have the nerve to try to look down upon Black Americans, but they couldn't do a dang thing in their own countries. The nerve, right? Now, when you ask them, within Hispanicism, to what applies to, and certain type of Mexicanos, the ones applies to, very hateful ones toward Black Americans, etc., and some other immigration type groups and stuff like that, who I'm sorry, the ones applies to, who have written the coattails of Black Americans. Hey, y'all trying to get Black Americans to fight your fights, but at the same time, you say, hey, what are y'all doing to sit there and help Black Americans out to sit there and help them and demand that political figures within your own groups, right? However, other people, you demand from political group that you make sure that they legislate anti-American Black hate crime law. That they sit there and demand that Black Americans get reparations. When we start talking like that, this is what they do. Exit station left. You understand? Ashley Gonzalez, her parents. What, you think her great-grandparents, you think they were raised up in America? You crazy. You think both our parents were raised up in America? Well, yeah. What about our grandmother, grandfather on the east side? See how fast they'd be like, oh, well, yeah, they did kind of flee from across the border of Mexico. Do you understand that goes? She's probably a first generation, or at most second generation of Hispanicism within Mexicanos, right? In America. Latecomers. Do you understand? But at the same time, she wants to use hate-filled nig. This is why I can't stand the usage of that word, especially in public. Now, whatever somebody says behind the doors, that's on them. You can't whatever on that. But I'm saying the most hateful filled, non-term of endearment, piranha filled, super lobster claws of blood pain of a word that can be relayed over should not be relayed over by certain numbers within Black Americanism. I say this again in podcast, that word should be thrown into the trash can in various parts of the space. But unfortunately, it's not enough Black Americans who are demanding to say, look, the majority of Black Americans do not use that awful word, especially in public. It's not good enough. The problem is that it's still being used, still more. You still got higher numbers of Black American males. Black American females even use this word more. That's not acceptable. So then when you hear Ashley wish she was KKK, wakes up early, she woke up how many times, on a daily basis, wishing she was an Anglo-Caucasian woman that she looks at as goddesses to her. Let me tell you something. This ain't about numbers of good within certain Hispanics or whatever that's supposed to mean, because there's Afro-Hispanics. Don't get it confused. But again, I don't want to go into all that, those topics a little bit. Right? But the point I'm getting at, Hispanics, keyword in there, Spanish, only means that personnel overall who's speaking predominantly Spanish. That's all it means overall in various countries. That's it. And again, there's Afro-Hispanics. No, that speak Spanish, the ones who do. But then you look at the telenovelas and all these other certain type of Hispanicism channels, especially Mexicano channels, you'll see what 98.98999% Anglo white looking Hispanics. Do you understand? Do you understand? Now, see, she can never do that, right? She would be looked at as a pauper, right? A pauper Hispanic mixed up version and stuff like that of a Mexicano. See, there are numbers of Mexicans, Hispanic white Mexicans that look at her like yuck. Do you understand? Because they have a caste system themselves, by the way. So when she uses all that N-word left and right, I'm like, well, I mean, oh my goodness, she shouldn't be using that word. Well, and I agree with that. Quite a number of people should be using that word for different cultures and backgrounds. You got some people in other different countries using that N-word. You go to however numbers of, I'm going to all that. Just to say, some people who know that know, say you're in that country, and you go to a certain type of wink hip hop club. How many, once applies to, are playing music that have the N-word in there? Do you understand that? But they better not sit there and play any kind of music that has any kind of derogatory to another culture. Or I forgot, there's no comparison, because they wouldn't dare play any kind of music like that. Do you understand? Do you understand? So the N-word is a atrocious word to be used. And even though, yes, there are some Black Americans that use that word, so what? That don't mean that other people should use that terrible word. That just means that there are some those within American Blackism that just don't get it. There are some ones that have a Black pain trauma that don't even realize it, which also is a form of needing a reparations also. It's not just only check. That's a gigantic part as a check. Just like they give what we call Native Americans, whatever that's supposed to mean. Right? Because when the dogs roll, when you had numbers of Anglos who sat there and paid half of $2.50, $5 to be put on these rolls in the 1800s to be called Native Americans, but they're not called pretendians. Some people know what I'm talking about. Why don't people jump them down on them and say, y'all pretendians, right? You understand? Nobody, you don't hear people telling people, get over the Holocaustness. What they got to do with America? Shut the up. There is money still go to however numbers of what we call Holocaust victims in different places. So piss off. on that tactic. That just shows me some other people that people that don't know that. Be humble and say, I never knew that. I don't know that. Instead of saying, oh, it doesn't happen, because that person makes themselves look like a fool. And supremacists love those kind of fools. But let me sit there and show you something too.
Walked out of the Democratic convention, formed their own party.
The Southern revolt against President Truman reaches its climax at Birmingham under the states' rights banner.
The so-called Dixiecrats nominated the South Carolina governor Strom Thurmond as their presidential candidate.
There's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation and admit the Negro race. Down segregation and admit the Negro race. Segregation and admit the Negro race.
Out of the Democratic convention, formed their own party.
The Southern revolt against President Truman reaches its climax at Birmingham under the states' rights banner.
The so-called Dixiecrats nominated the South Carolina governor Strom Thurmond as their presidential candidate.
There's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation and admit the Negro race into our theaters, into our swimming pools, into our homes, and into our churches.
That was Senator Strom Thurmond out of South Carolina, who ended up becoming the governor. And he was a massive dongalanga of a segregationist, hateful field, KKK field, wish that Black Americans be ridded off America's soil, segregationists. This was less than 100 years ago, people. This was after World War I. This was after World War II, or around in between that World War II or right after World War II, which started around 1941. Regardless, this was after 1941. That means still, that's less than 100 years ago. It's 2026. By the way, today is April 28, 2026. And you heard this varmint of a coyote, cockatoo, of a KKK, hate-filled rhino butt, of a cretin that was in the politicalness as a senator and then a governor. It had that animosity, feel hatred for Black Americans, not Hispanicism, not because that person was, both parents was continental Africans, not because they came from France, not because they from Yugoslavia, not because they came from Jamaica, because he said, he's talking about N-word, talking about Black Americans. And so you got Ashley Dinglebat, wish she was Anglo-white, wakes up wishing she was Anglo-white, with an animosity-filled, KKK-minded trocotype of a buffoon. Have the nerve to be using N-word like that? Do you understand, people? Do you understand? And I sit there and showed you earlier about this particular animosity-filled hatred, racial racism, terrorism by their complicity on the way that they came across toward Black Americans. This guy right here, he was also, again, a wannabe Anglo male. He was a white Hispanic Mexicano. I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get. Do you understand, people? That you got Black folks, Black Americans, walking around talking about Black and brown coalition. Do you know when some some types of white Hispanics wannabes hear stuff like that nonsensical stuff from certain numbers of Black Americans. This is what they do. Because you know what they know? What do you mean? You know what they know? You know, let me tell you what they know. Yes, they know what's coming soon. Actually, it's here. But even more, the demographical, tumultuous turmoil, invasion of certain Hispanicism within certain Americanos, the largest group within Hispanicism, and other groups within that mix. Do you understand? They know what's happening right now. For generations, for centuries, Black Americans were the second largest population in America. It was Anglos, whatever that's supposed to mean, because you had white adjacent ones that slid under the banner white, but that's a different topic. You had Black Americans, they are their own unique culture. And 3, what we call Native Americans, whatever that's supposed to mean, because they're white native people, but that's a different topic. But no one tells numbers of Native Americans, stop talking about the white man took your land and the white man broke trees, but at the same time, how many of them have what we call white names? Do you understand the hypocrisy, and how many of them come from a background of fake pretendians that put their names on the list, right? To get, to buy themselves Native American status. They don't talk about that part. Or say a few Caucasian males got with certain, what we call Native Americans, whatever that's supposed to mean. But at the same time, after that baby was born, then that offspring married predominant based culture males. Do you understand? So themselves, they may have only had one particular section of personnel of that woman that was a Native American. But after that, primarily, the offspring got married to non-Native Americans. Do you understand? But they call Native Americans, but let a Black American somewhere in the lineage have, wink, wink, a Native American mom or dad. Why y'all call yourself Native American? I don't want to go into all that. Even though there's still Native, what we call Black natives that are out there saying, what are you talking about? We have been Black natives for many, many generations. I don't want to go into all that. It's a different topic. But I make this point on this part right here too as well. Let me sit there and show you something. Now, remember what I said about she's in the N-word left and right, right? This is from a guy you see in this picture who is still boxing right now in 2026. Called Ryan Garcia. Filled with racism, anti-American, Black hatefulness. And he's still allowed to box. He said, where's all these various types of hardcore Black boxers out there saying, wait a minute now, we just found out you've been sitting there using these words toward Black Americans. Oh, no, we can't have that. Where's the outrage toward Ryan Garcia? Those are people who heard about his outrageous anti-Black American hatred. You see right here, talking about he loves the N-words. Why is he still allowed to box? As of April 28, 2026, he's still allowed to box. I saw something the other day about him boxing and trying to show off like he's hitting hard. I'm like, look, where's all the Black American boxers saying, oh, they get in the ring with one of them and say, Ryan said, show them how tough he is. He had got beat by him. Anyway. But I'm sitting there saying, but they probably, I don't know if they even knew that he even said this. Let's play this. Oh, hold on. Okay. Just gonna say something. 1 second. I'm just panning. Give it a second, Street.
Nigga,
You supposed to hit those tests and throw up the
No.
peace sign. That means you
hey,
want
you
to
know what I
vote.
said? I said niggas are worried about niggas in the ER word, but niggas are saying niggas to the ER. No, you didn't hear that.
Can you say? No. Can you say it again?
Okay, niggas are worried about other people saying the ER word, but niggas are saying niggas to the ER.
You supposed to hit those tests and throw up the
No.
peace sign. That means you
hey,
want
you
to
know what I
vote.
said? I said niggas are worried about niggas in the ER word, but niggas are saying niggas to the ER.
You see how this insult? This is insulting to millions of Black Americans, with few exceptions, who say, "Yeah, they know it's insulting. They see through this. But they say it's millions of American Blacks who don't understand what's happening right now."
You supposed to hit those tests and throw up the
No.
peace sign. That means you
hey,
want
you
to
know what I
vote.
said? I said niggas are worried about niggas in the ER word, but niggas are saying niggas to the ER. No, you didn't hear that.
You see what it says at the bottom too? George Floyd is a bill. Do you understand that? He sits there and called George Floyd a bill. After 10 minutes where you got that ingrown toenail, piece of snot cropper tail of Derek Chauvin and his demon knee upon the back of the Black American George Floyd for almost 10 minutes. And he has a little millionistic assistant, cretin, Klan member, complicity type of mentality right by Derek Chauvin. And then you had a type of Asian guy, this particular Asian guy, right? That version who look upon numbers of Anglo males as gods, who sat right there and was trying to keep Black Americans out of anything. And then another guy who some people said, was he Black? I don't think so. He snuck under a generic banner of people of color and minority, right? And they didn't catch hell, right? That was like fell off a little bit, right? So Derek Chauvin was the main monstrosity, monster, dongbat who sat there and did what he did, right? And he's sitting there trying to play victim. But the assistant Dongleberry Bat, creating KKK minded actionableness, who sat right, the other Bassy officer who sat right next to him or by him, while Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's back of his neck for almost 10 minutes. That guy didn't do nothing either. And I said again, that particular Asian guy, that one, he sat back and did nothing to stop that because he looks upon certain numbers of Anglo personnel as his gods. So he's useless. Well, he's useless to anything toward Black Americans. And the other guy who slid under a people of color, minority, switchery type terminology, he didn't get any kind of accountability. You understand that? For 10 minutes almost, Derek Chauvin put his nasty chromocomato knees on George Floyd's back, or back of his neck, and why he stopped, why George Floyd's body went limp, that cretin of Derek Chauvin still sat there like he was sitting on the knee on the porch or sitting there doing something to his grass. Do you understand? And you see Ron Garcia talking about George Floyd as a bill and then using the N-word. Do you understand, people? So you got some within certain Black Americans that are pissed off of that Ashley Gonzalez said the N-word as if that's something new, of the hatred filled certain numbers of Hispanicism, especially within certain Mexicanos, that still have hatred for Black Americans, but they know who to sit there and do that too. But they know better not to talk that crowd to numbers of personnel within predominant culture. Do you understand? Because how many numbers of certain Hispanicism are legal? How many certain times of Mexicanos are not citizens, have questionable legal status especially under DACA program, where they use their kids as pawns, as anchor babying. Do you understand that? So they get jealous because there's not one Black American who is not an illegal immigrant in this country. Not one. But I'm going to sit there and show you a video. For the people who are still listening to this, or I got a treat for you that most of you have not seen this video. I give you a hint. Most of you have not heard about this. It's called Ats Line. What? Ats Line. I'm going to show you in a little bit. For people who heard about this, again, if a person is scanning through this video, I'm okay with that. Because I guess sometimes some people listen to the whole thing, which is great. Some people listen to parts, some people scan through, however it goes. But some personnel who actually are hearing this part here, you're going to be in for a treat. I'm going to play a few more things real fast, but you can scan through until you start seeing this thing called Ats Line. And I ask you to take a listen to that. And for some people who haven't heard about that, it's going to open your eyes. If you're different kind of cultures, still, it can open your eyes up as well. Because many of you have not heard about that word Ats Line either. Even though our personnel immigrated to America, and many have not heard anything even about Black Americans' history, real Black Americans' history. Most Black Americans don't use the N-word, people. Majority of Black Americans are not sitting there, just sitting around not doing nothing. The majority of Black Americans are in the middle class, people. Do you understand? The majority of Black Americans over centuries have built this country. The majority of Black Americans right now are constructive people, but that's not, they want to make sure not to show that. But I just want to sit there. I'm going to speed this show up a little bit quicker, a little bit. But I guarantee for the people listening, if they just look at this one particular video on the show called Ats Line, and again, most have not heard about that. And you say this word Ats Line to most people, you just say, "Hey, do you know the word Ats Line?" And see people be like, "What? What is that?" Oh, you'll be so beyond a lot of people and understand some things on this. But let me finish playing this for a second about Ryan Garcia, who is a KKK minefielder, Anglo-white, or want to be Anglo-white, but he's a white Mexican Mexicano who is supposed to be a wink-wink professional boxer who came across right here that's talking about Black Americans and using the N-word, but at the same time also called George Floyd a BITCH, right? On that. So let me finish playing this.
Can you say? No. Can you say it again?
Okay, niggas are worried about other people saying the ER word, but niggas are saying niggas to the ER.
That's crazy. That's crazy work. You're absolutely right, though.
Bro, am I wrong?
You're not.
No, you are right, bro.
You see them making excuses, and those are Mexicanos in the background talking that nonsense, but they're sitting there looking for the Black Americans saying, "You're my brothers. You're my brothers. Oh, we need to fight back against ICE. Fight back against ICE." And this is how they talk among each other. Now, Black Americans was using that W word, that starts with a W, ends with a B word. All numbers of Mexicanos will be pissed. Or somebody says, "Oh my goodness, river rats, river rats, river rats." Oh my goodness, what does that mean? The word about all that. Oh, you shouldn't be, that's racist. Well, I heard most people call Mexicans saying river rats, or some certain other Hispanics calling each other river rat, but you can't use it. Why not? You see how oxymoronic it is for them to think that they, and then some other groups too, don't get it confused. Don't get the crap confused. But I'm just showing you how oxymoronic it is that you got some people that want to fight to utilize one of the most disturbed words ever exist in America, the N-word. They want to fight to use it. You see how crazy that sound? But for the ones who may not have heard the beginning of the show, this also is extremely important. Hold on. Extremely important clip as well. This was, I think, around 1940s, which was less than 100 years ago. From a senator named Strom Thurmond of South Carolina. He became governor, and he was a super hate-filled monkey nut bread of a fermented greenback knucklehead of a segregationist. I mean, pure hatred segregationist of Black Americans. And many people have not heard of this right here as well. So this is a gold mine for the people who are actually listening to this. Salute to you on this, because a lot of people haven't heard about this.
Who walked out of the Democratic convention formed their own party.
The Southern revolt against President Truman reaches its climax at Birmingham under the states' rights banner.
The so-called Dixiecrats nominated the South Carolina Governor Strom Thurmond as their presidential candidate.
There's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation and admit the Negroes into our theaters, into our swimming pools, into our homes, and into our churches. In the army.
And reaches its climax at Birmingham under the states' rights banner.
The so-called Dixiecrats nominated the South Carolina Governor Strom Thurmond as their presidential candidate.
There's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation and admit the Negroes into our theaters, into our swimming pools, into our homes, and into our churches.
You heard it yourself. That was less than 100 years ago. This is around 1940s, in one of those elections that he's a Senator Thurmond, Strom Thurmond, that became a governor. And here it is, he legislates laws, and he felt the need to have that kind of animosity, hate-filled, KKK-filled, donkey-bat type of hatred for Black Americans. For what? Because of color of their skin. And you got Ashley Gonzalez with her little fleeing self, or her parents fled. And she used the N-word herself left and right. Do you understand how that sounds on that? Now, for the person who's listening now, look at this right here, what I showed you too. I'm setting the direction up to play that main video in a little bit. But like I said, the Aslan, I'm going to play it just a little bit. I promise you it's going to be... I know Negroes aren't getting their fair share of democracy. But frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get. I don't remember this particular wannabe Anglo-white. That's white, I guess. But somebody can just type it in, that those few sentences, and they'll show who this person is. But he is a wannabe Anglo-white. He was a wannabe Anglo-white person, but he was a white Mexicano version. And he said this was about, I think, the 50s or somewhere in the 60s. So I showed you in the 40s by Senator Thurmond, who became the governor of South Carolina. That was 40s. So a decade or so later in the 60s, you see this guy saying he's anti-Black American type stuff. And you sit there and see, right, what is this? Generations later, and she's talking about Ashley Gonzalez that was in the uniform for the Houston Police Department, using the N-word all over the place. Do you see what's going on? It's sad that there's not enough Black Americans to see what's going on.
I don't believe this is happening.
Only fools refuse to believe truth.
Yes, because again, when these little hate-filled type of Ashley Gonzalez type people who are sneaky as a crop bat, this is what they do when, again, you say, hey, you want Black Americans to sit there and help certain Hispanics and certain Mexicanos fight against ICE? What? You say, well, what are y'all going to do for Black Americans?
Exit station left.
Yes, that's what they do. This is why I'm setting the direction up. See, they didn't see right here for a second. Oh, this is what I'm going to play too. I had to play this for a second. Where is it at? When this particular Hispanic guy made common version. I'm not talking about the ones that's decent. Those are small amount, like some other type of groups too, that sit back and watch what Black Americans are doing and then jump up and down and bite off what Black Americans have already set the direction up. Where is it? Oh, this guy. Oh God, yes, I forgot about this. This Black American guy of California that most people have not seen his video either.
The elected officials refuse to address the problem. The black elected officials refuse to address the problem. My own congressman refuses to address the problem. And I think the problem is black folks see all minorities as allies. And this is not the case. These people are not here for our common good. They're here for their own good. Where I don't have any ill will towards anybody, I also want to look out for my race. I'm a black American. I've never used a hyphen. But I will refuse to turn my back on my race and see what's going on in South Central to my people and let these people come in here and just take over. I'm not going to sit back and watch it. And I...
Peace, perhaps on your side, Maximal Scum. Yes, but not on ours. Permit me to inform you that an enemy which appears to be peaceful may in fact be merely biding its time.
You heard that black American saying that's in California, and it's in many different places. I've done podcasts on, and I'm going all that's a different topic. But what I'm getting at is that, what? Oh my goodness, they talk about Hispanicism. Oh my goodness, they must hate Hispanics. Oh my goodness, they must hate Mexicans. Oh my goodness. I'm like this. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Not going to play that tactic, right? Not going to play that whatsoever. It's like this particular Hispanic guy, this particular Mexicano guy. When the question was asked to him, what has collectively, not individual, that's a little run game that certain numbers of Hispanicism try to run on Black Americans, certain numbers of Mexicanos. Again, I'm not talking about the numbers of good ones. Those are small amounts. And don't get it confused. The various type of immigration groups, they know who they are. Some of them okay, many of them not, because they sat back and flee themselves. Don't get it confused. Then you got the continental, certain sections of Africans. The one that applies to. There's some good brothers and sisters in Africa, so we're not going to play that game. But how many have fled, became fleers to come to America? They couldn't fix everything. Tribalism going in their countries. Tribalism going all over the place. Extreme poverty, embarrassing poverty, right? Food insecurity all over the freaking place. Corruption going all over the freaking place. And they're going to sit and try to talk about Black Americans. I mean, the freaking nerve of that in itself, right? So, but this particular Hispanic guy, McConnell, he was called out by this guy's on podcast. And there used to be a lot more Black Americans that are roasting some type of people when they try to play this anti-American black card.
What have Latinos as a group ever done for foundational Black Americans in the history of the United States?
I'm sorry?
As a group, what has Latinos ever done as a group, and the key word, as a group, what have they ever done for foundational Black Americans to help us as a group?
I mean, I can't state every case-by-case thing, but...
State one. Just one.
I mean...
I'll give you time. Go ahead.
Waiting.
Does it really matter who helps who?
See, this is easy. This is easy lessons to me. When I sit there and see through this kind of stuff like this is easy lessons on this part. But unfortunately, anyway.
I don't believe this is happening.
Only fools refuse to believe the truth.
This is easy. This is so ridiculous. Let me share my screen. It's like, when are more Black Americans going to wake the freak up, right? Besides the few exceptions. I did this show talk. I'm almost finishing up here. I'm almost finishing up because, oh man, the ass line is worth itself to see this video. It's going to be real quick, but it's very powerful. That sums it up. This is also a video I did on my podcast, The Real CP Show. And what I want to do is show, give me a second. Oh, let me go back. What I want to do is share my screen and show you something. Again, this is where I did a podcast called The N-Word Using Hispanic Woman, Mexicano version, protesting with some other Mexicanos Hispanicism, probably mixing with some other Hispanics. They were protesting for illegal immigrants. Themselves probably could have been illegal immigrants. Outside this Omaha meat plant, right? I'm just setting the direction up so you can see that on my podcast, the real CP Show. On that, these are ICE officials coming in to do their federalness of immigrationists. And these particular Cretan type of various section of Hispanicism, Mexicanos, however mixed in, they got this audacity in America of trying to sit there and break up ICE doing their duties. But this particular N-word using hateful Hispanic Mexicano version, or she could be somewhere else within that mix, have the nerve to use the N-word too.
Yeah. And look at that, Just get in front of federal cars.
Look at this.
Now imagine Black American people doing that across that border in other places, protesting immigration.
Oh, hell no. This is, oh my God.
You hear that?
Yeah, word. And you hear what you're not taking them. You be like, what country are you in?
It's allowed.
They gonna say you ain't taking these border breakers. Basically, I don't care. We want border breakers, right? Pseudo border breakers. You're not getting them, man. They will not pull this SHIT in some other country that don't play these tactics. They will round their asses up so fast, right? And they'll show them inhumanness. Do you sit there and attack federal officials like that? You gonna sit there, or they're gonna be sitting there and show inhumanness. You in somebody else's country of sovereignty, and they think they're gonna sit there and break immigration laws and throw rocks or whatever, other bricks or whatever it is at federal immigration vehicles, right? Vandalizing and trying to tell another country what to do with having sovereignty, about trying to protect their citizens from border breakers, not knowing what kind of person these border breakers are, scammers, violent tendency type person.
Look at that. The nerve of these people. Almost again.
Fucking nigga!
Oh.
Fucking nigga!
So when you hear this particular Cretan of a bad seed that has a uniform of an officer saying that, it's put within them that version of Hispanicism, that type of Mexicano, and some other ones within certain parts of Hispanicism. They're put in those areas as well because they want to be Anglo so bad. And then they expect Black Americans to fight for border break illegal immigrants. They want Black Americans to fight for immigration rights. What rights? This is America. You understand that? You're supposed to do things, wink, wink, supposed to do the right way. But of course, there are people in certain supremacist positions. They don't care about that. They want more border break illegal immigrants because they want to sit there and get them as a voting bloc. And when they do that more and more, because they're already doing it pseudo right now, but it's just a matter of a short amount of time when they sit there and do what, right? Sneak a link and winky, and get them even more legal status, which means that they are able to vote. That is the end, gigantically collective toward Black Americans. And I've already said already on various podcasts, but unfortunately, because so many internal problems going on, that's been instilled by the supremacist system, and quite a number within Black Americanism refuse to see that there is Black pain, right? Because it's a coping mechanism. And then you got all these various types of immigrationist groups, the ones applies to border break illegal immigrants, however organizations, entities, etc., however politicalness figures, the ones applies to all these different these things coming toward Black Americans and stuff like that will not fight back in a collective way, because all these different things have Black Americans collectively only have half a generation to one generation left for the overall complete destruction of the American Black culture. Period.
I don't believe this is happening.
Only fools refuse to believe truth.
Right? And the only people that's going to be around with American Blackism is what I call cultural survivors. Actually, let me sit there and go ahead and get to this particular. Oh, I got to show this right quick. This is article. There are people who know about this, and most people don't. LA City Council, May Connell version. She's supposed to be the first, I think, Mexican, Latino, whatever it is, in the LA City Council, and she pulls a blanket anti-Black American card, a blanket anti-Black American KKK mounted ideology, because she wished she was white herself. LA City president, Hispanic, wannabe Anglo. So this white Hispanic LA City Council president woman resigns her seat over racial racism, anti-American Black remarks that was leaked. Look at that. I smell wannabe Anglo in her aura. She thinks she's Anglo. Many of them think they Anglos. But none of the ones within the Panamanian culture saying, you river rat, you will never be like us, no matter what. So you just go ahead and show anti-Black Americanism, hatred to those Negroes, and we allow some of you to become honoraries. All right, you understand that? Yes. A top Los Angeles City Councilwoman has resigned after she was secretly recorded making racist anti-Black American comments in a meeting with two other city lawmakers who are also complicit in their anti-American Black commentaries and things like that. Nuri Martinez stepped aside as city council president on Monday. It's a few years ago, but had still clung on to her council seat. President Joe Biden has led calls for her and two other Democrats to go. Now, you're talking about the cloud, calling the other cloud white. Is a hypocrisy. Some people know what I'm talking about on that. When he was talking about in a 2020 election, I think it was, or something like that. If you don't know who to vote for, then you ain't Black. But they're saying Biden had led calls for her and two other Democrats to go. Do you understand the hypocrisy of that? So they just look at Black Americans as fools in collective way. So we just say, do, tell anything to Black Americans collectively, and they so stupid, dang Negroes, they just fall in line collectively with few exceptions. The audio obtained by such and such entity and posted online is from October 2021, meeting to discuss redrawing of voting groups, meaning that they wanted more Hispanicism, predominantly more Mexicanos, right? You understand? Which is called ATFLIN, by the way, too, as well. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. It's unclear who recorded this discussion, and they want Black Americans out. I showed you earlier with that Black American saying, man, he's talking about the hatred that certain numbers of Hispanicism, primarily within certain parts of Mexicanos. Don't get it confused. There are certain sections of caste system agents, the ones applies to, who have animosity toward Black Americans too, who have the nerve to sit there and flee and have the nerve to hate Black Americans, because they were also complicit. The ones applies to with a certain personnel, should we say, if you say anything to them in a certain way, they'll call you anti-Semitic. That kind of game. but they know it's not enough black legal needs people. They say, "Oh, you want to play that? Okay, we're gonna play that tactic, right?" That's a whole different touch about itself. And they sit there, went before the Supreme Court and struck down sectionalities of to my racial quota in the college scene, and because there are certain, they use certain numbers of white version of Asianness. They want to be white so bad and act like that is supposed to affect them when the 9,000% within Ivy League schools do not have a large percentage of Black Americans. Do you understand? They don't care. They want to push Black Americans, if they can, in 1% range, if they can. Even if it's already low percentages in Ivy League schools. Do you understand? And they know it's not enough. They say it's not enough Negroes to sit there and fight back on us. So it's going to run game on them. Do you understand? It's almost like it's embarrassing. It's an insult to the American Black ancestors who lost their lives in America fighting against the same thing that's happening now toward Black Americans, hatefulness. This is insulting. It's unclear who recorded the discussion. And a statement to the voters from her council, District 6, Mrs. Martinez announced she was quitting after 9 years. The first Latina to hold the top post on the council, she wrote, "It's hard to say goodbye, but please know that I was in this fight with you." A lying piece of snockatrock shell. She was anti-Black Americanism through and through. And some of her cohorts, Hispanic, Mexicanos cohorts, were just as complicit, and they're sitting there ego magnetism of bird beak dung beetleness and their anti-Black Americanism hatred of Black Americanism. But you still got numbers of Black Americans walking around talking again, Black and Brown Coalition. Man, you got to be a fool to sit there and walk around talking about Black and Brown Coalition when there's no such thing as that. The tape discussion was between city council members Gil Cedello something and Kevin DeLeon. Both want to be Anglo white so bad, but they are Anglo Hispanic. You understand? Los Angeles County Federation of Labor President such and such, Ron Herrera and Mrs. Martinez. Do you see that? Do you see something right that part? Gil Sendello, Hispanic Mexicanos, Kevin De Leon, Hispanic Mexicanos, Ron Herrera. Do you understand? Anglo Mexicanos want to be Anglo Hispanic want to be Anglos. You understand? And obviously Mr. Martinez, right? Want to be Anglos, white Hispanicism. You understand? Mr. Herrera was not heard making racist remarks, resigned his post on Monday. What I say earlier, still complicit to sit back and listen to this anti-Black American racist Nora Martinez and some of the surrounding ones making those comments as well. In the conversation, Ms. Martinez is heard using the Spanish term to liken a fellow council member's adopted Black baby to an animal. Do you understand, people? You understand? This animosity runs very deep within certain numbers of Hispanicism. That's right. So it goes, right? Let me share my screen. Let me go ahead and just play this, read this particular article. I'm going to play this particular video about that hateful, wish she was a KKK member in her wannabe Anglo predicatedness of Donkey Kong of a mentality, anti-Black Americanism, hatred, right? Houston police officer relieved of duty after race. Let me see if you can see this. Okay. Houston police officer relieved of a bad seed version of Houston police officer relieved of duty after racist video surfaced, internal investigation underway. Houston, Texas, a Houston police officer, Hispanic Mexicano version, bad seed version, has been relieved of duty after video surfaced on social media showing a woman, an Hispanic woman that wanted to be Anglo, white Hispanic is a woman, Mexicano version of making racist remarks about who again? Black people, which means Black Americans. She ain't talking about continental Africans, people. Do you understand? Africa is made up of hundreds of tribes, hundreds of languages. I was it's a whole different topic. A lot of people sitting there play that game talking about Africa as if Africa is some monolithic part of Africa with all the tribes over there. How many tribes can't even stand each other? That's a whole different topic. And suggesting she would misuse her authority. The Houston Police Department confirmed it is investigating the videos, which were initially shared with a limited audience through Instagram's close friends feature, but later circulated more widely. In the clips, this particular hateful wannabe Anglo woman, this Hispanic Mexicano version woman, is seen speaking directly to the camera using racial slurs and making offensive statements about who again? Black people, Black Americans. But there's no such thing as racism, right? I ain't got anything to do with slavery. Because they run that game on millions of Black Americans. It's almost like there's only a few Black Americans that say, piss off. You ain't finna run that game. You understand? It's almost like there are a non-small percentage of Black Americans who are scared to call these people out. It's almost like they're afraid to not understand. They just didn't arrive in America as a latecomer. Black Americans have been in this country more than any other culture, people. Than any other culture besides, obviously, certain parts of whiteness or Anglo-ness. And even that, because there's Anglo-adjacent ones that slid under the white banner, but that's a different topic. And Native Americans. Those are the three largest populations that's been in this country for centuries. You understand? So it's an insult that numbers of Black Americans are allowing people just to be sitting there insulting Black Americans collectively. Including comments suggesting they deserve slavery. Ooh, do you think she would have said, oh, those people to my Holocaust people, those Jewish people, they deserve the Holocaust. Oh, those Native Americans, they deserve the white man taking their land. Oh, they want to play that game whatsoever. Do you understand? In another video, the woman, this Hispanic woman, Mexicano version, who wish she was white, appears to describe using her role as a police officer to target Black individuals doing calls for service. I'm not going to read nothing else on that. Is this not clearer? And it's not even, when I sit there and saw this, I was like, I guess, what does it that showed you already? The various other Hispanics that either had a direct hateful Black American hatefulness, right? That Nura Martinez, who was one of the first Latino women in the LA City Council, and said very anti-Black American hatefulness and anti-Black Americanism hatefulness, because she couldn't keep Black Americans out of her freaking mouth, and some of the other Mexicanos on that city council complicit in their own direct and indirect anti-Black Americanism. Do you understand? Because various parts of California want Black Americans out of California as much as possible. They want them out. California overall is headquarters one for various sections of border break illegal immigrants, sectionality of certain type of Hispanics within certain Mexicanos. They want to use that as a headquarters. Do you understand? And they want numbers of Black Americans out. And there are Black Americans up there who would tell you, yes, they're sitting there seeing this stuff on a daily basis of certain numbers of Hispanicism, certain numbers of Mexicanos showing its hatred. They said, don't get it confused. There are certain numbers of Anglo-Asians up there, the ones it applies to, who hate the guts of Black Americans. You understand? And their list of anti-Black Americans is growing. But it's predominant, even more Hispanicism within a certain part of Mexicanos. Do you understand? It's a mixtures in there. And then Black Americans have to sit there and fight against certain numbers of continental Africans. And once applies to Black Africans, and once applies to that flee from this ancient continent of rich resource Africa, and they flee from over there to America and have the nerve to talk about Black Americans and their numbers are so minuscule. It's almost like a fly will sit there and be more important than some of these fleers that can't even fix their own tribalism problems, can fix their own high crime, high poverty rates. They got how many numbers of Chinese, how many numbers of Lebanese, how many numbers of India, different other groups coming to Africa, grabbing up resources left and right, and got the nerve to talk about Black Americans, but they fled. Well, these people gone crazy. And they hatred toward Black Americans, man. More Black Americans about to wake the freak up and start fighting back on this, man. Unfortunately, most are not. Now, I wanted to show you this particular main video relating to this particular Cretan. This particular Cretan mononopoly of a Dambakali, of a hateful filled anti-American Blackism type of magnetometer, buttock, succotash, back, beanback of a knucklehead. With insert type Hispanic Americano version, this one. Let's see what she says.
Like, oh my God, I felt like I was back in the Marine. Like, I kid you not. I don't know what came over me. I grabbed by the neck and I was like, come here, you. And oh my God, like, I felt like the world just stopped. Like, it was just peace. Like, I don't know. And then he was just like even I in my head, I was like, damn, because I called him a dog. Like, imagine how many downtown chimps were there. They could have beat him. Like, oh my God, I felt like I was back in the Marine. Like, I kid you not. I don't know what came over me. I grabbed by the neck and I was like, come here, you. And oh my God, like, I felt like the world just stopped. Like, it was just peace. Like, I don't know. And then he was just like even I in my head, I was like, damn, because I called him a dog. Like, imagine how many downtown chimps were there. They could have beat him. Like,
How many N words that she kept using on that video talking about Black Americans, and that really wasn't even the one that I wanted to show. Give me a second. Give me one more, because there was another one that was a little bit longer. But again, I'm doing just like this. I'm sitting there observing. Give me a second here. I'm just looking at some of the background because there's another video that I had wanted. Let me make sure everything's still up. Okay, good. Again, I'm looking. I was looking like that. Like, okay, whatever this little potapakal of a trochotype of a hateful anti-Black Americans knocksucker. I'm like, man, this is ridiculous to be allowed this kind of hatefulness toward Black Americans who ain't did nothing in any kind of collectivity toward numbers of Hispanicism, especially Americano versions. Okay, here it is right here. Let me give me a second here. Okay, now let me share my screen. Give me one moment here. Okay, now let me share my screen again, because this one's a little bit more longer, slightly longer, right? Because I'm utilizing this as timepiece purpose. All right, so let me maximize that. All right.
I was like, what the fuck are you gonna possibly say? Like, are you gonna call 911 because I called you a no, right? Oh my God. I don't know. This shit didn't record, but it was like, I'm kind of glad it didn't record, because it was like me expressing how much I fucking hated people after this. Like, dog, like, let me get a Black person on a 911 call tomorrow, especially. You're going to fucking jail. I don't give a fuck. You're getting treated like a bunch of shit, because the amount of times that I will always and forever say that I fucking hate. Oh my God, I fucking hate chimps. Like, I hate y'all. Like, you, like, I don't fucking, oh, we were slaves this and that. I don't give a, like, for a reason you guys were fucking slaves. I don't know anything better than to fucking steal. Like, oh my fucking God. Like, I was literally eating fucking food with my friend. He had his, oh my God, like, I don't know, por Dios, por gracias de fucking Dios, I had my fucking wallet next to me, like my whole purse, and those fucking literal fucking small ass cheat decided not to fucking steal my fucking wallet. Oh my God, I would have grabbed my heel and like whooped up his ass, but like, whatever, right? Some other, but no homo or nothing. Y'all don't know how good it felt to say
Wow.
out loud. Like, goddamn. Oh my god. I felt like I was back in the Marine Corps. Like, I kid you not. I don't know what the fuck came over me. I grabbed that by the neck and I was like, come here, you fucking. Oh my god. Like, I felt like the world just stopped. Like, it was just peace. Like, I don't know. And then he was just like, even I in my head, I was like, damn, bitch, te pasaste. Because I called him a fucking downtown chimps. Over there, they could have beaten my ass. And then he like stops like, you did not just call me a fucking like, you're a nerd. I was like, oh my god, like, you're a fucking, and I called you a
Mm, 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 mm.
I don't believe this is happening.
Only fools refuse to believe the truth.
How extremely clear did she make it of her animosity feel, anti-Black Americanism, hatred? That these type of complicatus of Hispanicismness, specifically more Mexicanos and some other mixed in, that Black Americans don't do anything toward them in any collective way. And you got these pacacachas that sit there having this animosity, feel hatred for Black Americans. It's almost like, man, go ahead and put some white KKK sheets on top of them, and you wouldn't know no difference if they didn't say anything. Do you understand? Black Americans about to wake the freak up collectively. Unfortunately, many will not. It just makes it very clear how they truly feel about Black Americans overall way. This is the side part on that situation. Let me play this one last thing that is called @line. So, oh, do I still have it? Oh, yeah. Give me a second. I'm just going to do this. Give me a second. It's called @line. And for the people who are, stuck through this, hopefully it's a decent podcast. What I'm going to show you something that most people have not even seen, because this is going back, I think, to, anyway, it's been going back for numbers of years. But these are one of these kind of videos that must be listened to see in context what certain numbers of Hispanicism have been sitting there planning demographically on their onslaught within Americanism. And they'll play in front of certain numbers of Caucasian people's faces, the ones it applies to, because they said, oh, numbers in them naive too. But the thing about them, they want to be closer to whiteism than anything. But at the same time, they have a not a deep-seated racial hatred toward Anglos because they know better. But there are ones who don't like who don't like certain numbers Anglos, but they still will play fake smile. But it's nothing in comparison to what they feel about Black Americans, because Black Americans have not fled. Do you understand? Less than 50 years ago, within Hispanicism, and the largest group would have been Mexicanos, their numbers were still small, people. Less than 100 years ago, there would have been minuscule numbers of Mexicanos like that. Now, people will start to take a look at this and say, wait a minute now. They're small, but they're still trying to grow up there a little bit. So we need to take a look at that. So when Howard certain figures, they did Operation Wet, B-A-C-K, Operation Wet, B-A-C-K. Oh, you got people lose their minds when you use that word. You better not say that word. Oh, that's racism. Oh, but how many can use the word N-word? You see the hypocrisy, right? On that. Because they think Black Americans are overall dumb. That they can run that game on Black Americans collectively, and they do it. Oh my goodness, they should never say the word wet, B-A-C-K. Well, why not? There's some other numbers of white Hispanicism that don't like Papa-looking Hispanics like you. That's racism. But they won't tell their own numbers of people stop being racist toward Black Americans. You see how that game goes, right? Because they're messed up themselves. But that's a different topic in itself. I'm trying to find, give me a second. Let me go. Okay, give me a second. Let me go back here. I want to play this video called Echelon. And this, I think it's going to be my last video that I'm going to play again called Echelon. Let me see if I have it somewhere else, but I just want to see if I have it another direction. So either way, I have it. So just here, I think I just saw it. I saw it and it's about went right past. Give me a second. Here we go. Okay, Echelon. Again, this goes back to several years ago, actually probably about a couple of decades or so, plus or minus. And this is a very powerful video clip that most people have not seen, but this is the kind of video clip that should be shared and I hope liked, because it is a powerful video that the certain sections within certain parts of Hispanicism know, various sections of, especially within certain types of Mexicanos, the bad versions, especially, they know about this, right? Because it is a secretiveness that they have in place. And they know many people don't even know about this, but especially they said numbers of those Negroes, they do not have any clue, but they still walk around talking about black and brown. How sickening.
We remain a hunted people. Now you think you have a destiny to fulfill in this land that historically has been ours for 40,000 years. And we're a new mestizo nation. This is our homeland. We cannot, we will not, and we must not be made illegal in our own homeland. We are not immigrants that came from another country to another country. We are migrants free to travel the length and breadth of the Americas because we belong here. We are millions. We just have to survive. We have an aging white America. They are not making babies. They're dying. It's a matter of time. The explosion is in our population.
It's not enough to elect Latino leadership. If they're supporting legislation that denies the undocumented, they don't belong in office, friends. They don't belong here.
And those rednecks that are out there making decisions for the betterment of their communities will think twice before they push forward anti-immigrant legislation against our community. You can be as revolutionary as you want. You can be Chicano nationalist. You can believe it. You can believe in the concept of Aztlán. You can believe in the concept of multiculturalism. We don't have to give our lives. We're not at that point, but we can give a little.
That video on Echelon was probably around, I think, plus or minus a couple of decades ago, plus or minus. So it's been a few years. And the little crocotockiness of that particular Ashley Gonzalez on the Mexicano version, and so on similar to her too, they want Echelon. What does that mean overall? That means the retaking over of sectionality of the Southwest states, the United States, because they actually think that was Mexico. And that's a blatant, outright macalacatoid of a lie. How can it be part of Mexico when only a few hundred years ago there was no such thing as Mexico, people? Let me say this again. How can the Southwest states be part of Mexico and some other places when only a few hundred years ago there was no such thing as Mexico? And what about the other indigenous groups, what you want to call it, that was in there pre-Mexico, that don't even speak Spanish even now? Do you understand? So when I sit there and showed you about Echelon, they're talking about certain numbers of Hispanic, predominantly more Mexicanos, who want to take over various sections of Southwest states. Do you understand? So what we call wink wink Native Americans who's already sitting there before anything dealing with what we call Mexican. Do you understand the crazy how that sounds? The Olmecs, which would have been of black origin, right? Now we want to go toward how possibly whatever Afrocoid, whatever on that possibility, or most likely, let me phrase that, because they did have what we call an Afrocoid type of look on that. They predate Mexicans. Do you understand that? So how can it be Ashland talking Mexicans talking about this is their land when the Olmecs predate Mexicans? Do you understand that? You see the game of this? The Olmecs predate what we call Mexicans, but at the same time, you got certain Mexicanos that want to be Anglo so bad, but at the same time have a disgusting, sinister animosity toward Black Americans, but they want to be white, but at the same time, they want to sit there and have the best of different sides. You see the game they're playing. They want to hate Black Americans, right, and run game talking about black and brown nonsense, but at the same time, look at numbers of Anglo-Americans laughing from their face and act like they care anything about Anglo-Americans. They don't like them either, but it's not a racial construct, right? Because they know their places with them. So they're sneakily laugh and joke like hyena tails, right? Fake hyena tail, right? In front of them, and certain numbers of Anglos within certain parts of Panamanian culture, they're kind of naive on some stuff because numbers of them are sitting there fighting for border break illegal immigrants, right? Trying to fight against ICE. You be sitting there saying, what kind of nonsensical cockataka tale is that? Fighting against ICE for immigration rights. How do you like immigration rights when you're not even doing stuff legalitiness? Do you understand how crazy that sounds? But at the same time, you have some of the same type of people, hey, won't you sit there and fight for Black Americans then? Now, they don't need you, but I'm saying, won't you fight for them because you know it's right because they've been in this country longer than anybody else besides certain ones within the Panamanian culture. But at the same time, the hell that keeps being put upon Black Americans by certain people that look like that particular person that was in Anglism, won't you sit there and fight with them and demand for your political figures to say, we demand that you give, because it's already earned, reparations for Black Americans. Just like we sit there, we have no problem with giving what we call reparations to numbers of Native Americans, right? We had nothing to do with removing them from wink, their reservations, whatever that's supposed to mean, because most wouldn't remove no reservations with those different games. So if we had nothing to do with that, well, why are we still not paying reparations to them? Not one, what we call Native Americans, wink, were alive right now in 2026 when the Trail of Tears happened in 1820, 1830. Not one. So how did that, how many of them get reparations? Do you understand the game of that? In 1866, after the Civil War, 1861, 1865, 1866, you still had certain numbers of personnel had to legislate to say, hey, what we call Native Americans, had to slap them on the wrist saying, hey, you need to let go of some of those Black American people that you put in enslavement. They didn't want to even do that. But you got some of these wink Native Americans got the nerve to sit there and try to sit there and talk about the white man took their land. Do you understand? Well, the white man broke treaties. What the are you talking about? You see the game they running. But that's a whole different game in itself. And they know that those Black Americans don't see the game that certain numbers of Native Americans run. And they're not questioned. Numbers of Native Americans not questioned to quantify their Native Americanism. How is your name John Thompson? How does that sound Native American? Or that particular Native American woman, wink, her name is Suzette Jones. Right? Her name is Mary. Her name is Mary Casal. Mary Casal. Or the guy's name, right, is Tony Revelo. Do you understand? Like, how's that Native American? But they're not questioned to say, wait a minute now, that don't sound like even a slight bit of Native Americans. That's like some Anglism names. But they're not told to quantify their Native Americanism. They're not told to prove that you should get reparations. They're just giving that because there are certain numbers of Anglos, quite a number of them, shall we say, that put themselves, their great, whatever, great, whoever it is, put themselves in what we call certain roles, the Dawes roles and some other roles, to call them. They pay $2.50, $5, whatever it is, to put themselves on the roll to be called Native Americans.
I don't believe this is happening.
Only fools refuse to believe the truth.
Do you understand? They running game too. Numbers of them. But at the same time, you start talking about Black Americans. You said, wait a minute now. First of all, they keep trying to put Black Americans in one little area, right in a little corner in a room. You call yourself Africans, go piss off. Black Americans are their own unique culture. This is why, African ancestry, I got it. Yeah, before that was being used enough. But as I also observe more, Black Americans need to be more of the terminology. Now, even like I said, African ancestry, Native Black, I've used that before because that's kind of combinational, but I would kind of change it now to more Black Americanism, Native Black within that application. Because there are Black Americans that also have Black nativeness in them. But see, it's funny because you have some people even within certain parts of Black Americanism and say, oh, those people call themselves Black natives, those pretendians. That shows a lot that they have no clue. It shows that they are not good researchers on that because there are numbers of Black natives saying, what are you talking about? Come talk to us over here in this place of this city. Come or in our reservation, or come talk to us in that city. Let's show you we are our natives. And the thing about it is, I'm going to all that. You have some people that still try to tell them that they don't know what they're talking about. That's a problem within certain parts of Black Americanism too, unfortunately. Some of them think that they know everything. It's a problem. But that's something internal. But I make that point. Black natives are told that there's no such thing as that. We call Native Americans supposed to have a certain look. You say, okay, fine. So how's that person Native American look like a mixture of Anglo primarily? And we would call wink Native American, and then others look like white. How's that Native American? But they're not called pretendians. Do you understand? So it's like same time you have some of these fake wannabe Anglo white Hispanic Mexicanos and some other ones. They want to be white so bad. This is also why they had to come up with saying, look, no, that like they said, non-Hispanic white, right? Non-Hispanic white, right? Like, no, you're Hispanic version, you're over there, you're not white. So we're gonna say non-Hispanic white. Do you understand? Because around those mid 1900s, they were fighting because they wanted to be classified as white. Do you understand? But they have the nerve, decades and decades later, to try to be talking about Black Americans, especially the 21st century. Black Americans, you're my brothers and sisters. Black and Brown Coalition. What the? Oh, you know what? I got to show this. This is from the great Mr. Neely Fuller. On that, we talked about the Black and Brown. May his soul rest too. He's passed on, transitioned, but he was a brilliant. You would call him. It may not be in this. Hold on, let me set this direction. Give me one moment here. Let me get the video first before I go. Let me set the video first. Where's Black and Brown at? Give me one moment. This is my last video on that. Again, from the great Mr. Neely Fuller. When we talk about Black and Brown. It's to a point, and it's brilliant how he talks about Black and Brown. Here we go.
Nobody else can make that determination. They decide. They say that these are the brown people. You have an expression now that's been going on for some time. Black people and brown people. Most black people are brown.
Most black Americans have a mixture within black and brown skin. So you got some of these people within certain numbers of Hispanicism. Mexicano was talking about black and brown coalition. That's running nonsensical cockatoo type of game, right? Like the great Mr. Neely Fuller said in this situation here.
Say that you're black. That's who. Nobody else can make that determination. They decide. They say that these are the brown people. You have an expression now that's been going on for some time. Black people and brown people. Most black people are brown. See how they do the confusion?
One last time.
Say that you're black. That's who. Nobody else can make that determination. They decide. They say that these are the brown people. You have an expression now that's been going on for some time. Black people and brown people. Most black people are brown. See how they do the confusion?
See how they running that game?
I don't believe this is happening.
Only fools refuse to believe truth.
But Ashley Gonzalez with her wannabe Anglo self, wishing she can wake up with Angloism in her phenotype, wishing she can talk in a certain way like Anglo women doing supplies to. So herself, she hates her own self because she's a pauper. See, most people ain't asking the question. See, she's a latecomer. You can tell the way she talks that she's either first or no more than second generation within Hispanicism Mexicano version. Because people are not asking overall, where's her parents from? You understand? On that. He said, well, my mom and daddy was from Mexico or whatever place. Well, where is their mama and daddy from? Oh, then we start getting to the real retaliatoriness. I said, oh, so your great grandmama, great grandfather on either side were immigrationists from Mexico or mixed in with some other Hispanicism that they fled. Oh, they don't want to talk about that then. He said, because you up there do? Oh my goodness. Why you gotta be talking like that? You don't like us. I'm like, yeah, because not playing that game. Right? And see, they know that it's not enough Black Americans that know the games that are going on within certain types of Hispanicism, put on the Mexicano version, and don't get it confused. Oh, there is some hatefulness within various types of Hispanicism. And I don't even like to concur with the generic Hispanicism, because all that means that predominantly the person speaking Spanish from a predominant based Spanish speaking countryness overall. But what about the Afro-Hispanics in various countries? Do you understand that's being treated inhuman themselves? Now, let's not get something confused, because there are, unfortunately, there's a conversation that's still not been, when we talk about, there are certain still numbers of within Hispanicism that some have some melanation skin that don't like themselves. Do you understand? So let's not get that confused. But the problem is still the numbers of Afro-Hispanicism still are being shaded off in various sections of certain Hispanicism countries and stuff like that. And that tells you at the confusion, because you got what? Hispanicism? Like, what is that? That's generically, right? It's like you can't pin down certain Hispanicism. That's the game. Just like when somebody says, well, people argue down and you know, it's logical analysis about this, but some people just don't get it. Well, what exactly is a Jewish person? Well, they're a race. Well, they're not a race. Well, yeah, there are race within certain Jawishism. If they want to race, well, why is that again? They make sure not to want to provide a genetic layer test, right? To say, let's see your Jawishism. Because there are certain type of genetic lists that have been classified under geneticists that say, okay, this comes from a certain Jawishism version, which can be construed as a certain racial construct, right? Which means it's a conglomeration of cultural contextness, right? It can have some beliefness, it can have a certain type of traditionist, it can come together to form its own conglomerate. That is a type of racial background. Is there not certain numbers of Jawishism that meet within that context? Yes. Do you understand the game of that? But they're not a race. What are they? Well, it's complex. Well, Judaism, what's supposed to be practicing Judaism faith. Well, it's not that simple. What? But it's not a race. No, it's not a race. Okay, well, it's about still practicing Judaism. Well, it's not that easy either. What is it? Oh, it's complex. That's running game. You see the game? But you got people that tell Black Americanism, you call yourself Africans. What? When you got numbers of Africans, they don't even call Africans. Matter of fact, you got certain numbers when the Hispanicans, Mexicanos, they don't like even call themselves Mexicans until it's something that is beneficial to them. Do you understand that within certain Mexicanos don't even know their own country's history? In closing, the only thing a person has to do is ask the question. Explain the Mexican flag. And watch how many have no clue within Americanism, just utilizing this, have no clue about what the Mexican flag represents, and especially how it came in existence and who was the person who came up with the flag. And by the way, it wasn't some Mexicano version, should we say. Full reality stop. See, they don't like when people know the game because they themselves, numbers of them, come with game. You understand? Because Atslon is very real. What I played the video is very real. And they want to run games toward millions of Black Americans, with few exceptions, talking about Black and Brown coalition, when there's no such thing as Black and Brown coalition. Again, many American Blacks better start getting the freak on board.
Peace, perhaps on your side, Maximal Scum. Yes, but not on ours. Permit me to inform you that an enemy which appears to be peaceful may in fact be merely biding its time.
Yes. Buying numbers of their time to do Atslon because they want to push out as many Black Americans in as many places as they can because they want to have their own they can't conquer nothing over there in America like that. But they try to blame, oh my goodness, Americans grabbed our land up. No. Within certain section of Mexican history, they got paid to sit there and basically allowed land to be bought. No one has grabbed their land up. It was voluntarily sold. Do you understand? But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about it again. Well, what about what we call wink wink Native Americans that was already sitting on this land before there was anything called Mexico? So that would mean there was no such thing called Mexican only a few hundred years ago. Do you understand the game that people try to run? And there are numbers of good Mexican brothers and sisters who know the truth. See, there's only small numbers within the Mexican scenario entities within Americanism who know that they are good and who have no problem calling out numbers of their Mexican brothers and sisters who have hatefulness toward Black Americans. And salute to those type of good numbers of Mexican brothers and sisters, but those are small. Because as a collective, there is no collective caring or concern or any kind of loveness for Black Americans. They don't like Black Americans because Black Americans stand to fight. And they don't like that. Do you understand? So they try to run game toward Black Americans who don't know any better, the ones applies to. So Ashley Gonzalez is nothing but a Pon Pachaka puppet Takata, right? That was allowed under DEI to get herself within Harvard department. Do you understand? And she also was a Marine. You're talking about a major slap. That's a whole different topic of the braveness of the various numbers of Black American Marines that was in the Marines going through segregation themselves, people. That's 100 years ago. And this foolish chaka tale of an Hispanicism Mexicano version, wannabe again, Anglo-white female, wakes up every day and said, how I wish I was a white. How I wish I was a white. Because she don't like her own Mexicano-ness. Do you understand? Because many of them are confused themselves. They don't even know their own culture. And try to run game like some other immigrationist type person once applies to, and so even some continental Africans once applies to try to run game upon Black Americans, talking about Black Americans have a culture. How foolish do you sound? When Black Americans built the freaking cultures of America. Do you understand? Had their own cultural context. How do you don't have a culture when exactly you built, again, the collective parts of many parts of this country before many of them even existed? When Black Americans had their own achievements, patents, and how many of them were stolen. The predominant-based musicness was created and tenets of a piece of some others that you would say started by certain Anglo-ness, but still the foundation was started by Black Americans. Rock and roll was started by basically Black Americans. Jazz, ragtime, which predates jazz. Also hip-hop, not some bad N-word this, N-word that. No. That wasn't no true hip-hop. That was a section of hip-hop. Notice that they make sure not to stir and want constructive hip-hop and rapping with none of that N-word usage. You notice how they don't want that to happen too much now in this system? Do you understand? It's on purpose. Country music has also tenets within Black Americanism. Listen to a lot of the country music, people. They're rapping. Do you understand? They're rapping. Soul music, Black Americans. Pop music influenced Black Americanism. R&B, beyond Black Americans foundation. Do you understand? Do you understand? Black towns. We're talking about for centuries, Black Americans. What part they don't understand? Having it in hospitals, banks. Do you understand? Well-to-do before any type of 99.89% of what we call African immigration has even really started to come to America like that. We're not talking about some slavery-based part. That was at that particular time. Black Americans became their own dynamic cultural concept. Do you understand? So how the freak you have a culture when you built the country overall in America with the music, the culture, the foundation, the building off of free labor? HBCUs are a form of Black culture. Do you understand how silly it sounds for somebody to say that? Because they're animosity jealous. Because there's no other cultures, and this is background, turn lifestyle categories, etc., that could not go through what Black Americans have been going through for centuries. They wouldn't have survived like that. Do you understand? So Ashley Gonzalez type of people, they hate Black Americans. And for her to use the N-word, and she is the recipient herself of DEI, then you have to question who was her trainer. Do you understand? And then again, when she went to Marines, so she was sliding under a people of color, minority communities of color. They allowed her to slide under the banner of that. Or she slid herself within that as well. So she won the service off of what Black Americans have had to go through and fight to be desegregated from the service, to not only be its own segregation serviceness, right? Because of blood, pain, and its foolish counterculturalist, of Hispanicism had counter version, she benefited off that. Just like she's benefited off of DEI. So hopefully her peace officer certification will be revoked. Firing means nothing. She can go somewhere else. Do you understand? See, until more Black Americans start saying you will not disrespect Black Americans in any kind of collective anymore, they will not allow people to sit there and call them anything they want. They will not allow people to deflect. What? Why can't we use the N-word? Do you even know why you use the word? I don't know. Y'all use it. If you don't even know why you don't even use it, and the only reason you say because the Black folks use it, and you don't understand how the word meaning, what that word meaning, that says a lot about that person. Because there's already some things that got to be straightened out with certain part within American Blackism to either reduce that destructive word of N-word, which I've done a couple of podcasts on that on the Real CP show part. Because that N-word usage should be thrown to the trash can of space. Because people like Ashley Gonzalez, why can't I use that word? How about you go to HELL? Do you understand? See, they hate Black Americans. Do you understand that? So they'll play this Black and Brown Coalition, or they had their little Hispanic organizations, but Black Americans have their own stuff. Why they got to be divisive? Just like continental African, the ones applies to like the sellout. Very few exceptions. They had their own distinct situation, different places. There's no such thing as true Pan-Africanism, especially in the 21st century, because they're doing their own, they bringing their own tribalism to America. Do you understand? See, people run games on Black Americans like they going out of style. And more Black Americans about to stand the freak up and stop allowing people to run these games. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.